Well, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen of Devonport Camera Club. I'm speaking to you from Newbury, England, and it's Richard here again. And I send you my very, very best wishes for a great evening. Unfortunately, my tickets to fly across to Tasmania to be with you tonight must have got lost somehow. So I'll be with you in spirit, but my body will not be, which might be a blessing in some ways. However, thank you for sending a most interesting selection of images, which I will now have a little word about each one. I won't take too long because I don't want to intrude on your time. So let's start with the first image was a deft hand. Always I'm looking for something a little bit different, a little bit, I don't like to use the overworked word creative, but this is that. And I like the angle, I like the lighting from the head torch, creating the shadow of the hand. I'm not quite sure exactly what is happening, but the shape of the picture is interesting. And the low angle by the photographer is great. And the shadow of the hand, I think, works very well. It's something a little bit unusual and a little bit different. Well done. Now, the second image, I scanned through the list of titles, and when I came to the second one, it said Bums in the Sun. I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. This is perhaps some people scampering along the beach, on a naturist beach. This is going to be really fun. So, anyhow, when I looked at the picture, of course, it's a delightful picture of man's best friends, the two little dogs. And it tells a story of a really happy, fun, lovely day. And I think it's very good. Works very well. Now, the third image, I had a little difficulty in pronunciation. Caladinia clavigira. Now, forgive me, I'm probably totally wrong on that, but I'll just go for the clubbed spider orchid. Beautifully photographed by someone who is obviously an expert in this field, because the sharpness of the orchids is just accentuated by the outer focosity and blur of the background. Beautifully done. I felt it was like a couple of almost ballet dancers just sort of relating and all almost as if they were having a little conversation. A beautiful image. Now we move on to Dunedin Station. I haven't actually been to Dunedin Station, but I do congratulate the photographer on his or her use of the sepia effect, because it's taken us right back, almost back in time. And it's given, I think, a lot of atmosphere to this picture. There's nobody there. It's like it's a very unusual, slightly strange picture of this station. I like it very much. As I say, I think your treatment has really enhanced this image. Now we come to Eastern Spinebill. What a beautiful shot of this incredible bird. The colours of the plumage are just absolutely rich. And again, standing out beautifully. And that little spiked beak or bill, I'm not quite sure what you call it. That's beautiful. And the gist of the little bird just gets a little bit lost against the little branch it's sitting on. But it's a fine piece of work. Now we move on to Golden Glow. Now, I've always sort of maintained in my photography that to have, a good eye and to be able to make a selection in a view is always a good thing. Advice to sort of fellow photographers, which you don't actually need, is that, if you are, say, down in a harbour somewhere in Cornwall or, somewhere, wherever you are, sometimes rather than taking the whole scene, it's better to be selective and go in closer on perhaps one or two little objects. Now here, you've been presented with this in front of you. You've got this beautiful vista of this incredible field of sunflowers with rich yellow colour. But I think you've done the very best thing, and you've gone in close on the 3 pictures, the 3 sunflowers. And I think it works really, really nicely. I like the way you've trimmed the picture and cropped it. I think that's really made the picture work very well, this sort of almost panoramic view. I might have said to you in the past that we had a president of Newbury Camera Club, and his name was Jim, and he was always talking about masking off transparencies in the. This is a long time ago, and his nickname was Jim the Trim. And as I say, your trim and crop of this picture, I think, has just made it. Now we come to the next picture. I wish I was home. I reckon this was taken in Australia. What is this strange phenomena? Rain. I mean, England, yes. I mean, we've just had the most horrendous storm last weekend, and they now got this ridiculous idea of naming storms. And this storm was Storm Bert, if you've ever heard anything so ridiculous. And we had rain like you've never had before, and you've got it here. And sometimes it's great to use the weather and the lighting to your advantage. And I like this. I like the way the subject is sort of like he's reflected down here in the water, in the rain, and it tells a story. I think it's really good, and I often think that a back view can say a lot. There was a famous story about a photographer who was sent to Chartwell to photograph Sir Winston Churchill. And when he got there, he was told that Churchill would not be photographed as he was painting in the garden. So this photographer sort of sneaked round and he saw Churchill sitting there with his Homburg hat, his sort of thick coat, and he could just see the palette of paints, and it was obvious what he was doing. So he took a picture of the rear view, a back view of Churchill. And this was one of the most well-known pictures of Churchill. So, it's a thing to think about. Sometimes back views like here can really, really tell the story. So I really like this one. And now we move on to London Bridge. Well, I mean, nature is incredible, isn't it? It's marvellous. And how this bridge, like rock formation was formed, I don't know, but it's a beautiful picture. And the glorious weather after the last one, it's a real treat, isn't it? After all the rain of the last one, we've got this glorious sunshine. Wow, I'd love to be there and see that. It's a beautiful picture of an incredible rock formation. Now we come to a picture which I think is full of contradictions, a great portrait. Out for a ride. You've got this great character, this sort of kind of like, I don't know whether, obviously a biker, I would imagine. Obviously a biker. And he's got all the sort of like the leather jacket, all the badges. And the lighting is interesting. And I like the badges because I like on one of them, it says, "Bad to the bone." And it's a slight contradiction because this character has got like quite a gentle, sort of like a genteel, almost like a whimsical, not exactly a smile, but that kind of expression. So I think, if you could have perhaps said something to annoy him, or you could have made him give a really hard, sort of threatening expression, that could have worked very well. But what a wonderful character. Nice backlighting on his barnet. Barnet being Cockney slang for barnet fair hair. Lovely picture. Now we come to something that I am, a bit of a sucker for trains. I really like trains, but I don't think I've ever seen a steam train so full of people as is here. We've got quite a few trains, or lots of sort of preserved railways around this country, which are wonderful, and I love steam and the steam trains. And this is great. Oh, there's a few people on the train. That's a slight underestimate. It's absolutely chock a block, and several things I noticed about this. I like the steam and the smoke coming across the top. I like the angle that you've chosen for the picture, which has given made it very dynamic. And one thing I noticed, that no cameras. It's all phones. Everyone uses phones today. The sort of like the casual person just uses phones. I find I'm obviously not photographing as many as I used to, but latterly, when photographing weddings, everybody would just hold up their phones and just not use cameras. So, Puffing Billy time, great picture, nice angle. What a great day it must have been to be on that train. I'm sure you had a great time. Now we move to ready for takeoff. Well, this is a superb picture of this beautiful bird. And what I think about this one is just perfect timing. As the bird just sort of spreads its wings, you've only got probably one chance to get the shot, and you've got it. And it's pretty spectacular, really. Again, with this type of image, I think that the background plays a big part in the picture, and the fact that here it's neutral. There's nothing, no trees or people or in a wildlife park. It's just a blank background. It works beautifully. Now we move on to something very different, sand serpent. It's wonderful what just the effect of water trickling through the sand on the beach can do. And here we've got this sort of serpent-like track, which I presume is sort of just water flowing down through a little sort of rivulet stream thing on the beach. And it's turned it into almost like a sort of a wall, a cave painting from, sort of like years and years and years ago. And it's very interesting. And I like the colours. I like the muted colour and the sort of kind of rust colour of the central sort of serpent-like snake going down through the middle. Very, very different. And, as photographers, we've got to be on the alert all the time. We've got to train our eyes to look for different things all the time. And so here you found something very different, and well done. Now we have two beautiful sea eagles. What magnificent birds they are. Wow. And I like your sort of choice of viewpoint, and the fact that the sort of the eagles are looking in the same direction and the same angle. It's a great picture, beautiful lighting. Now we have Sea Stack, this dramatic view looking down the coastline. I'm not sure whether this is a great coast road on Australia or where it is quite, but what a magnificent view. And it makes me wish, I think if only I was back in Tas, for a few weeks. Some of the great pictures, what we could get. But this is beautiful, beautiful, very dramatic. And I love this one. Now, the next one, shell symmetry, rather amused me because there was a sort of trend a few years ago in England where people would be drawing these goggle eyes, we called them goggle eyes. You would just draw two circles, two egg-like shapes, and they'd put the pupils in the middle and they'd be sort of boss-eyed. And everybody was doing these goggle eyes. And these two shells reminded me very much of that. So again, I think that's a very good piece of observation to see that. And to me, it's quite a sort of humorous but nice little picture. Now we come to Space Needle Seattle. Fine piece of work. I mean, it's so good. It could be in a brochure, I think. Night photography, I feel, works so well because, it simplifies and it just gives drama. And here you've got a great picture of the Space Needle. You wouldn't get me up it because I can't take heights, but it's a fabulous picture. And as I say, you've done it perfectly, and it's good enough to me. It could be in a brochure. Okay, let's move on again now to one of my favourite images, and a monochrome image. And I think the monochrome aspect has really added the power to this picture. This great shot of this bridge. It's dramatic, it's powerful, and I love the lines coming down from the top left and the right hand, and going into the centre. It's got great design. And again, I think you've taken a low angle, and I think the whole thing works really, really well. My only sort of like observation is that if perhaps the lines could have come from each at the very corner, it might have been, that would have been interesting. But I love this picture, and we're always sort of faced: are we going to present it in colour or black and white? And I think he or she, you've done a great job. I love this. And I think that just the monochrome has just worked so well. It's dramatic. It's got punch. It's got design. It's got contrast. Really like it. Now, the Glenorchy trio. What a beautiful lighting of these three sort of like little tree type coming out of the water. These three, well, I'm not sure whether they're little trees or shrubs or bushes, what they are, but it's beautiful. The lighting is beautiful. You've got this sort of slight backlighting, which I like. You've controlled the image, I think, with the sky beautifully. And what I particularly like the little clouds, which are just sort of floating between you and the hills in the background, the mountains in the background. It's a lovely, lovely image. Washing my colours next. Well, you're so fortunate in Australia and Tasmania to have these beautiful birds with these beautiful, beautiful colours. And here we've got another one doing the washing, and it's a lovely picture. And again, you've shaped it, you've sort of cropped it down, and I think it works very, very well. Now, the next picture is one of the genres which we do see from time to time. And it's not always easy to get a good image. But here, wilderness at its best. And to me, it definitely is at its best. I really like these waterfalls. And I love the way you start at the top of the picture, and then you see the water flowing down, and it flows down towards you, and it sort of opens up visually. And it's a lovely picture. I think the photographer has taken a lot of time over this and very, very carefully selected and composed the image. I would think probably the camera's on a tripod. And again, your choice of shutter speed is just perfect to give just the right amount of blur in the water. And it comes all the way through the picture, just different stages of blur. So a beautiful image, absolutely gorgeous. Now, for the wombat, I was going to say what dear little chap, but he might not be a dear little chap. I don't know, but it's a lovely little picture, isn't it? They're just so sort of cuddly and nice. And again, you've got very little time to take this sort of picture. You've got to sort of grab it, and you've got it just right. So we come now to the last image, which is wow. It's a wow picture, isn't it? And it's got the wow factor. Yellow on purple. And I presume they're drops of water, drops of oil. I'm not quite sure, but it's very, very well done. It's a very creative piece of work. And I can see it's taken on an Olympus camera. And but you've chosen to present it in a different way. You've introduced this colour, which has given a sort of like a kind of wacky, almost psychedelic effect. and well done. I mean, it's a very bold, a very clever, a clever piece of photography, and you've done a beautiful job. Or sort of macro work, I'd imagine. Fantastic. So, I have had the pleasure, and I thank you for letting me look at these pictures and talk about them. And I hope I haven't taken too long, but I have now got to choose the first picture, the winner. Now, this is always a very, very difficult. And on all the sort of quiz shows now, there's always a sort of like a dramatic build-up. There's a long gap before they announce the winner. It's like we have this program, the dancing program, Strictly. I expect you've all seen it, Strictly Dancing. And they always say the next person to be eliminated is, and you have to wait, and you think, oh, get on with it, So I won't do that, but I would like to say, after very, very careful thinking about it, I have come to the conclusion that the picture that I would like to award as the winner, to make the winner, is the picture which I spoke about, the strength of the picture and the fact that it was monochrome, and the winning picture is the bridge. So I do congratulate the photographer, whoever he or she is. I think you've done a most excellent job. That's a picture with real sort of impact to me. So well done. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I haven't taken too much of your time. It only remains for me to wish you all the very best, and have a great evening. If you've had the dinner, I hope you've enjoyed it. If not, I hope I haven't taken too long before you have the dinner. And in conclusion, all my good wishes, and may I wish you all a very, very happy and wonderful Christmas and a good photographic New Year. Thank you so much, and I will speak to you again hopefully next year. All the best then. Bye-bye for now.